tide goes from this level to this level in 6 hours, and then back up again 6 hours later. This can give a painter working outside on location some challenges. I'll paint this scene and give you an idea of how I deal with that. I start by drawing the scene and painting it in black and white. I work fast, capturing only the most important parts of the scene. I start with a light gray layer, finding the areas on my paper I need to leave white or light to create visual interest and pop. I finish with the dark marks I need to tell the story. Then I have a record of the scene as it first captured my imagination. I have the shadows and the tide level locked in. I can change them as needed, but this serves as an invaluable reference as I go on to the color version. For that, I redraw the scene on a fresh piece of paper. I take more time in this drawing. I have to be fairly detailed. Every area in the painting that will be white is paper I have to intentionally leave unpainted. As I draw, I take note of the colors and reflections in the water, so that when I start painting, I have a plan of what colors to use. Then I begin mixing as many colors as I can anticipate or have space for on my easel. I test those colors on a scrap of paper as I go. This step can take a while, but it pays to plan ahead so that when I finally apply paint to paper, I can work fast. I let the colors of the sky and the shaded buildings run together. My goal here is to cover as much area as I can before the paint dries. This first wash goes on quite quickly. I would have liked to have done the water at the same time, but things were drying too fast, and I had to stop and mix new puddles of fresh paint. I've set my shadows in place early, so when the shadows move, I don't have to chase them in my painting. Meanwhile, the tide is steadily going out, so I'd best get on with it. Note how the reflection of the light building shows darker in the water than the building itself. Note also the pattern and values of the water as it nears the shore. I've been watching all that as I go so that if the water gets away from me, and, spoiler, it will, I still have a memory of how it looks. I also have my value sketch to refer to directly below my painting. Now as the first wash of the water dries, I'm working on the smaller details on land, adding the midtones and darks to help give form to the buildings and the little boat that is at the heart of this. It helps me as I'm painting to keep top of mind why I'm painting this particular scene. In this case, I've had my eye on that little boat as I come and go along the dock. It sits there and gleams in the sun all afternoon. The fact that it is so near the water and yet sits high and dry, surrounded by buildings and greenery, makes this a different sort of painting for me. I wanted to give it a try, as buildings are something I usually avoid. As I go along, I'm working on the painting as a whole. When the breeze drops and the reflections become more apparent, I work on the water, adding ripples and darker reflections near shore. Then as those dry, or as a breeze picks up, I work on the details of the building again. Meanwhile, the tide is still falling. Note how much shore has been uncovered. I'm continually looking at my painting and comparing it to the scene before me. I'm looking for those things present in the scene that have not yet made it into my painting, but that are needed to tell the story. Those are the things that I add next to the painting. When I've added everything I need to add, I can stop. There's a lot going on in this scene, and so this stage takes a long time. But adding those small dark marks that do just enough to bring definition to the scene are one of the best parts of making a painting. Here I am, adding the last few dark accents and ripples in the water, and the last dark accents on the buildings, putting in just enough information to give definition to the shapes. And then I have to sign it, of course. But before I show it to you, let me show you what the tide's been up to. The water is now past the halfway point, and that means I've been painting for over 3 hours. The perspective and the angle of my scene have changed a lot. Now there are rocks and old pilings between me and my subject. They were underwater before, when I started painting. I should also mention that I was painting this standing on a floating dock that went down with the water. It's down about 15 feet at this point, but remember that's only halfway. This is what it looks like at full low tide. Water's gone out. It's about a 30-foot drop. There's some mud. And there's the fish plants. Remember, the water was right up to the bottom of those. So that's what the tidal range looks like here in the Bay of Fundy. And so we have to have these floating docks to accommodate the tidal changes. I want to thank you for watching this video as I made this painting and getting an idea of what the tides look like here. If you want more information about this painting or any other of my paintings, go to my website, poppybalser.com.